Well, hello. Welcome once again to Stuff and Things, where I like to talk about stuff and occasionally even things. I'm your good friend Bradley, and today it is a very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. And on this very pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things, we will talk about upcoming videos, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things and Stuff and Things Plays. We will also talk about a weird blend that was sent to me, and I guess I could do some research, try out my Google Foo and find out what it is, but I'm gonna ask you guys. Maybe you can tell me what this blend is. I'm also gonna talk a little bit about the fact that I was reminded recently that GLP Stratford is great. We'll get into that, but then we have a lot of your questions in hashtag #AskStuffandThings. I asked you for questions last week, and you guys certainly delivered. So we have several pages worth of your very insightful and interesting questions. So, let's get into this. All right, things that you can look forward to on Stuff and Things and Stuff and Things Plays. First of all, as you know by now, the Valheim series with our good friend Kevin Kevinson is continuing on Stuff and Things Plays every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm to the point now where, like I've mentioned before, I'm a little over a month ahead with those videos, and I'm thinking that I might be nearing the end of the game, or at least nearing the end of what the series is going to be. There are 5 bosses, I think, in the game, and I think I have almost found the very last boss, and I'm gonna be recording that soon. So after that, we're gonna be moving on to something different on Stuff and Things Plays, and look forward to some more information on that later. I'm gonna wait till we're near the end of the Valheim run, and then I'll give you some hints about what the next game will be on Stuff and Things Plays, but I think some of you will be very excited about what the game is going to be. And then, on Stuff and Things, I just recorded a video that will be premiering this Wednesday, and it is about this lovely pipe rack. Hey! This was sent to me by a really cool guy named Mo, and he has a website called yorkbazaar.com, and he creates these beautiful pieces of wood, and basically in the video, I put this together. It took about 10 minutes to pop this together. It comes with all the pieces you need. It even comes with a little screwdriver, which I don't have near me right now. But it's a really nice little pipe rack, and it's adjustable. You can sort of decide, okay, I want this bottom section to just be with blends, so you can take this insert out. You can just sort of rearrange where you want things, and it's really reasonably priced. So look forward to this video. This will be coming up on Wednesday. I'm gonna pop this together and just kind of show you its utility and tell you what I think about it. So, the York Bazaar pipe rack. Very cool. Okay, so I mentioned, I don't know, a few times that I get blends sent to me from Sutliff every once in a while. I don't know why exactly. I don't know how that happened, but occasionally they send me something. And sometimes they send me things that do not have a retail label on it. And usually it's something written out. It's like, okay, I can read the name of this blend. You have written it on the top of the tin in Sharpie. This one, I'm not sure. It looks like Mr. SR Flake. It looks like MRSR Flake. Mr. Senior Flake? Mr. maybe 5R Flake? I don't know. Now, I'm sure I could go onto the internet and do a search and find out what this is, but I'd be very curious to know if any of you out there know what this blend is. I'm not gonna pop it open yet. Oh, maybe it's Mississippi River? Mississippi River SR. There's nothing really on the back. Okay, Mississippi River Special Reserve. MRSR Flake. I'm guessing that's what it is. If any of you could confirm that, I mean, I could easily confirm that, I know, by just looking it up. That's interesting, a flake. See, there's nothing here other than, I was hoping there would be something. So, you know, Mississippi River is normally a cake. I had not heard if they were doing a flake version of Mississippi River. So that's very interesting. Have any of you had this? Or maybe this hasn't even been released yet. Maybe this is a pre-production tin. But Mississippi River Special Reserve Flake. I'm guessing that's what that is. And I don't know, maybe you guys can confirm that for me. So we'll be checking this out eventually. Very curious. A Mississippi River flake, if it is indeed Mississippi River. Weird. So several weeks ago, I received a massive box of amazing things from a really generous viewer named Mike. Mike, thank you again for your extreme generosity. That was crazy. There were so many blends in there, so many good things. He gave us some blends that I had really been looking forward to review. We had Sparkplug in there by Pease. He also included quite a few blends, or quite a few tins of Pease Stratford. You may remember that Stratford had been my Elizabethan replacement. Now, I get Elizabethan on a fairly regular basis. I have my methods, I have my ways, but for a while, Elizabethan wasn't on the market. It had formerly been produced, well, it still is produced by STG, the Scandinavian tea group, but it was under the Dunhill brand. Dunhill got out of the pipe blend business. Those blends went off the market, and then eventually, as we had all hoped would happen, STG stepped in and started producing the exact same blends in the exact same way under the Peterson brand name. There's still some people out there who think that they're way different now. They're the same manufacturer, using the exact same methods in the same facility, so they're very similar. I mean, there might be some variation year to year, that's just kind of normal, but Elizabethan, I can attest, Elizabethan is the original Elizabethan, or it's the Elizabethan that I used to enjoy under the Dunhill name. But anyway, during all that, I was trying to pick a replacement for Elizabethan. I had some criteria. I wanted, or I was leaning towards more of a ribbon cut. I wanted it to be a vapor. It didn't have to taste exactly like Elizabethan because I didn't think that was ever going to happen. And I eventually, after selecting several different blends or trying several different blends, I finally decided that Stratford would be the one. And I was fine with it. I think maybe I was perfectly happy with this being my everyday blend, but there was always something in the back of my mind that was like, this just isn't as good as Elizabethan. It's never gonna really replace Elizabethan. But I quite contentedly enjoyed this for several months until I was able to get my hands on Elizabethan again. But Mike included several tins of this in that giant box. And I think now, because I can get Elizabethan all the time and it's not that big of a deal, maybe I appreciate this a little more, but I've really been enjoying this. And it's a really good alternative to Elizabethan because it doesn't do the exact same thing. It has a little bit more of a fresh kind of edge to it. It's a little bit rawer tasting, maybe rawer tasting. Maybe a little bit more spice in it. I don't know. It's hard to compare it directly to Elizabethan, but it's not like when I have this, I'm just having a slightly less than version of Elizabethan. It's actually its own thing, and it's actually quite good. And I may have to do a revisited on this, and it just occurred to me that I may have accidentally used up all the tins that were included in that box, so I'm gonna have to check into that. I may have to order another one, but if any of you would be interested in seeing a revisited episode on Stratford by Pease, let me know, because it's definitely piqued my interest. I've really been enjoying it. Ooh, look at this. I told you I just recorded that episode on the pipe rack, and I just got this new little table for me to use for my reviews and when I'm recording and stuff. And the reason I got it, I needed to use it for things. Let me do this. Is it showing up yet? Hey, look at that. It's an actual adjustable standing desk. And I thought I could make use of this when doing reviews and doing product demonstrations and things. So obviously I wouldn't sit at it at this level, but when I was putting together that pipe rack, I was able to get the desk up to a point where you can actually see me on camera and see me trying to make the pipe rack. Look how far up it goes. So obviously this is not an electric one, it has a crank on it because the electric ones are super expensive. So there you go. It could go even higher than this, let's see. It's a little too high now. There you go. This is the new desk that we'll be using in future videos on Stuff and Things. Just thought I'd show you that. Thought it was kind of cool. Let's adjust this down now. Very quick and very convenient. It just occurred to me you probably couldn't hear my vocals very well there, or my voice very well, because my mic was cut off by the top of that table. But anyway, it's time for hashtag #AskStuffandThings. I mentioned that we had lots of questions, and we definitely do, so I want to get to them. Remember, if you have a question for me and you would like it answered on the Sunday Stuff and Things, tweet at SATBradley with the hashtag #AskStuffandThings. You can also leave me questions in the YouTube comments, or if you are a Patreon supporter, you can write to me on Patreon. Let's go down a little more. And I will get back to you there. But first of all, via Patreon, we have a question from Andrew A. Thank you for the question, Andrew. I have been meaning to ask this for a while now, and keep forgetting. But since you brought up the topic of reading on this most recent Sunday Stuff and Things, and have mentioned your affinity for Japan in the past, I'm curious if you have ever read the historical novels Musashi and or Taiko by Eiji Yoshikawa. I just picked them both up and am excited to read them as the reviews are stellar. I've recently gotten into historical fiction and I'm also curious if this is a genre that you enjoy. Thanks, and hopefully this gives you another question to discuss on future episodes. Andrew. Thank you for the question, Andrew. I have read a book about Musashi. I read it when I was a teenager, and I think it might be Musashi by Eiji Yoshikawa, but I was a teenager and I can't remember if it was by Yoshikawa. It was called Musashi. It was a narrative about his life. Musashi was a famous swordsman back in, I guess it was the Edo period of Japanese history. He wrote The Five Rings. I think it was that one. I'm not totally sure, but I haven't read Taiko. I do like historical fiction quite a bit. When I was even younger, like middle school era, I really loved the book Shogun by James Clavell. I don't know if it holds up as well now that I'm an adult, but I really liked it at the time. And, you know, I've mentioned in the past that I really love the Aubrey Maturin series, Napoleonic War era novels, or set in the Napoleonic War era. I love the Hornblower novels. I love if historical fiction is done well and really evokes the time and the place. I can really enjoy that very much. And thank you for the question, Andrew. Next from Ingolf Pernice, or Pernice. Hopefully I pronounced that sort of, kind of correctly. My first question ever. This is also a Patreon supporter. Thank you. I do research in cryptocurrencies. It's an intellectually intriguing issue from all sorts of perspectives. There seems to develop a movement that would like to see money and financial services to be completely free from government interaction. That means no price stabilization, no surveillance, be it within social norms or not. No way to stop payments. What do you think about that? Should we as a society have the tools to allow communities to go completely underground in this sense? You like to discuss, right? Well, go. I'm excited to hear your thoughts. Best wishes from Berlin. Ingolf. I don't know why I made him sound so creepy and slightly evil. I'm sure Ingolf is not evil in any way. This is an interesting question. I have briefly looked into crypto stuff. There are people in my family who were investing a little bit, and you know, I downloaded Coinbase, that app, and was like, maybe. But I don't know, you know, I guess it's a separate issue whether or not you should invest in cryptos. I'm still rather skeptical about that. As far as whether or not they are a good thing for society, I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of crypto mining, just the fact that as someone who enjoys computers and video games, it makes it almost impossible to get graphics cards. That's irritating. They use up, there are people who just run banks and banks of computers using up so much energy mining crypto, so I don't know that it's the most responsible thing environmentally. As far as having an alternative to central banks, to national currencies, my instinct is to say yes, that is a good thing. I don't know. I think more time has to pass, and we have to kind of see how things shake out. There are so many different cryptos now, and I think a lot of them are kind of, you know, scrabbling for the scraps that have been left over from some of the big boys, and I don't know how viable a lot of these are going to be, and if there ever will come a point where crypto can be a true alternative to the dollar or the pound or the euro. I don't know. I'm very interested. I'm going to hold my opinion until we have more information and some more time has passed. But thank you for the question, Ingolf. Next, via YouTube, we have a question from Frank D'Agostino. Here's a question. What is your go-to English-style pipe tea? For me, it's Dunhill. Now Peterson Nightcap. You know, it's good to revisit this question every once in a while. I've answered it in the past, but there's kind of a difference between favorite and maybe everyday favorite. I guess that's kind of a weird fine distinction, but I really love Nightcap. I really do. I really like Ashton Artisan's blend, but if it's not something I would want all the time, I think Peterson Standard is still the one that's just like, nah, that's delicious. It's always good. It's never too strong. It's never too much. Nightcap, I mean, as I mentioned in my Nightcap review years ago, I think the rumors of its power have been exaggerated, but I don't see it still as like an everyday kind of English blend. But Peterson Standard, I definitely could see as an everyday English blend, and it has been an everyday English blend for me. So that still might be there. It's not the most interesting or exciting English blend in the world. It just does what it does really well, and that's just being a nice, basic English blend. So I think I still might have to go for Peterson, formerly Dunhill Standard Mixture. All right, next we have a question from droidlittle. Hello, Bradley. I found your channel when I had gotten into the pipe hobby, and I have to say I enjoy the variety of content you cover. Here's my Sunday question. Thank you, by the way. I, like you, am not big on toppings when it comes to tea, and have found your reviews very helpful. I really enjoy Nightcap, Crumble Cake, Acadian Perique, and Old Dark Fired. Using these as a template, what are some other teas that you could recommend that I try next? Thank you for the great content. Cheers. That's interesting. It's always tough to say what you may enjoy. It does help for you to give some examples there. How long have you been in the hobby? How many different blends have you had? Have you had Standard Mixture? I just mentioned Standard Mixture. I think that's just a great basic English blend. Have you had Gaw with Full Virginia Flake? Have you had, I'm trying to think of sort of apotheosis blends, like the quintessential Vapor, the quintessential Straight Virginia, the quintessential English blend. I would try some stuff. You've done Old Dark Fire, but maybe a burley blend that isn't on the dark fired end of the spectrum. So maybe something, a lot of people love Haunted Bookshop. I'm not as huge a fan of that as some others, but I think it's still a good blend, and it's a good kind of, it's indicative of what a nice burley blend can be. So maybe Haunted Bookshop, maybe try Solani Aged Burley Flake. I think that's a really good burley blend. So maybe go into that direction a little bit. Maybe try some Straight Virginia blends. I would definitely, if you can get your hands on it, try Gaw with Full Virginia Flake. That's really just a basic, quintessential kind of blend. So try some of those. I'm sure a lot of people in the comments will have some good suggestions for you too. But thank you for the question. Next from Corbin Bourbon, our good friend. Corbin says, I had just gotten into fishing more seriously lately. I was wondering if you fish or have fished, and do you enjoy it? Also, if anyone has any recommendations for any good fishing YouTube channels, I'm all ears. I have not fished since I was a child. I enjoyed fishing when I was a child, but it was something that I only ever did with my grandpa. My dad did not do outdoors stuff. I loved outdoor stuff, but we did not do that in our immediate family. My grandpa was the more outdoorsy guy, and we fished when we went to Eastern Washington. I always loved it, and I don't know if I would like it again. I'm sure I probably would. I have friends who do a lot of fishing. I'm sure they would take me out if I wanted to go, so I might have to try that. I don't have any qualms about like killing the fish necessarily. That's fine. I wouldn't want to go hunting, I don't think. I eat meat, but I don't feel the need to kill them. Other people do that for me, and I appreciate that. But I don't think I would be squeamish about killing fish or anything like that. It's just, I don't know. It's been a while. It's been a very long time since I've done it, but I should try it again. Next, from Eric Iverson. Hi, Bradley. I have a pipe-related question. Have you ever heard of people who don't taste the tea as they S their pee? I've been S-ing a pee for almost 3 years, and I can't say I've ever tasted the tea. I've S-ed a wide variety of blends, from Captain Black to Elizabethan mixture. If I retrohale, I get an aroma or essence, but I don't taste anything. Am I a freak of nature? Can only super tasters pick up the flavors of PT? I don't need to say P. Of pipe tea? Curious to know your thoughts. Thank you for your great channel. I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at your question. This is interesting. You know, we talked about perception in last week's episode. Was it last week's episode? Yes. Where I was talking about inner dialogue, people talking to themselves using words. Is it possible to really understand how someone else thinks in their own head? And this is an interesting, I guess it's sort of in the same category as that. You're tasting it. You've got to be tasting it. But maybe what you consider flavor varies from what I consider. Like, we could be tasting the exact same thing and maybe you just feel as though it's not really anything, and I do. So, I don't know. That's interesting to me. You say after 3 years, and you can't say that you've ever really tasted the tea. I mean, I might give up after 3 years, I don't know, but there's obviously something you're getting out of it that you enjoy. Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what you are actually tasting, but I can only assume, I don't think that only super tasters can pick up the taste. I think that, you know, the average person can definitely taste a blend. So maybe it's just a matter of you having severely blunt taste buds, or your perception of taste is just a lot different from other people's. That's interesting. I'm gonna have to think about that one. And lastly, from Farmer Fox, how much time we got here? I think we're okay. Farmer Fox says, in the Traveler's Midori, or similar notebooks, what in the world do people put in the zippered pocket sleeve for? I understand the card sleeve, but the zipper sleeve? So, I think that I talked about this in my Midori review. This is my good old Midori. I haven't really used this much lately. I usually use smaller notebooks now, but I do have the zippered sleeve in here, and I keep stuff in here, and I find it useful. I have a little ruler. I've got some stamps in there as well. Can this show up on camera at all? I'm not sure. I have like a bookmark. I have some paper clips. I have like little book darts and stuff. I don't know. I find it useful. I find it really useful. I find it actually more useful than the card sleeve. I have a couple things in the card sleeve. I have a little line guide. Actually, I have 2 different line guides. And like a writing mat. That's useful too, but the zippered sleeve, yeah, I use that. When I'm using my Midori, I use the zippered sleeve. It's just useful to have stuff that you can keep in there that's not gonna fall out of your notebook when you have it open. Your mileage may vary, do what you want, but that is my answer to you. Gang, thank you so much for sending in those questions. Please keep those questions coming. I really appreciate them. It helps me out with some good stuff, good content on the show. But now it is time for the very best part of the show, and that is where we thank our Patreon supporters. If you would like to support the channels on Patreon, there is a link in the description box below. And we really appreciate it. It helps to keep the lights on. It helps pay for this fancy camera that I'm using to record this video right now, helps get blends for review, other products, all sorts of good stuff like that. And we appreciate it so much. We appreciate it so much, in fact, that we'd like to thank those who support the channels at $25 or more a month by name every week on the Sunday Stuff and Things. People like Kirk Crompton, Private Eye, Glenn, Jason Buckner, Jen O'Side, John Leone, Gloria Phillips, Ryan McFadin, Matt Marino, and Joe Heaphy. And we would of course also like to thank the Maniacs, the crazy people who support the channels at $100 a month. People like Peter Straub, Bob Magee, David Gaudreau, did I say Gaudreau? Gaudreau, and Ashes of the Phoenix. And last week, mea culpa, I forgot Ashes of the Phoenix because I printed out my list and he was just like, there was one name, Ashes of the Phoenix, on the very last page. And that was the only thing on the page. And it just slipped my mind. Obviously, I remember who the Maniacs are, but when I have a piece of paper in front of me, I read it. Because I'm like a monkey in that way. Well, I guess monkeys don't usually read, but you know what I'm talking about. So Ashes of the Phoenix, I'm so sorry that I forgot your name last week. It will never happen again. You have my word. Thank you all so much for watching. Thank you all so much for subscribing, for liking, all that good stuff. Please stay tuned for the York Bazaar pipe rack video coming up this Wednesday. Kevinson's adventures continue every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on Valheim. We'll be getting into this, I think, Mississippi River Special Reserve Flake at some point. Maybe doing a revisited for Stratford at some point in the future as well. But until next time, until we meet again, I've been your good friend Bradley. You've been the audience. This has been Stuff and Things on a pleasant Sunday Stuff and Things. I'll see you later.